A short prayer prayed rightly carries power. It reaches God. And a long prayer, when prayed rightly, carries power and reaches God as well. In the midst of life's troubles and chaos, it is easy for us to say that we don't have time for prayer, or we don't have time for long, elaborate prayers. But the beauty of prayer is not in its length or its complexity, but in its sincerity. A prayer said or whispered in faith has immense power because it connects us to an infinite God that listens and answers with love. Prayer is simply a communication with God. It could be interchanged with the word communication. Prayer means communication, dialoguing with God, talking with God. The Bible is filled with short but powerful prayers. We can find in Matthew chapter 14 verse 30, when Peter was walking on the sea and he began to sink, and he cried out to Jesus, "Lord, save me." And in that moment of desperation, that moment of trouble, God saved him. Jesus saved him. This shows that even few words spoken in trust can bring divine intervention. God is not concerned about our eloquence. God is not concerned about how well we speak. God is not concerned about how we sound. He values the heart that reaches out to Him. Other examples we can find are instances where Jesus would give thanks to God in a short statement. "Father, I give you thanks. Father, I thank you." Short and powerful prayers reaching heaven and reaching God the Father. Short prayers are significant because they acknowledge our dependence on God. Whether it is a quick "Thank you, Father, for a blessing," or it is a "Save me, Lord," in a time of distress or in a time of rough situations. No one ever cries out to God, "Save me," and God does not show up. It doesn't matter how short the statements sound, but God looks or values the intent of the heart who calls out to Him or who cries out to Him. So short prayers remind us of His presence around us. Short prayers help us acknowledge that God's presence is always around us, that God's presence we carry, we are the carriers of God's presence everywhere. And so we can talk to God anytime, we can talk to God anywhere, we can talk to God, we can communicate with God at every point in time. Whether morning or night, we can talk to God. So short prayers could be really powerful if the posture of our heart is right, if the intent of our heart is right. Just as Paul advises us in the book of 1 Thessalonians that we should pray without ceasing. So praying without ceasing doesn't necessarily mean that we should go on our knees every time or every minute to pray, but it tells us that we can communicate with God every time. A short prayer reminds us that our focus should be on God and not the circumstance. So you reaching out to God in that few words or in that few statement of yours simply shows that you trust God enough to rely or focus on Him instead of focusing on that turbulent situation or focusing on that thing that is faced with you. So the power of small prayers cannot be overemphasized. I'm not trying to say that lengthy prayers are not good, and I'm not trying to say that short prayers are better. What I'm simply trying to say is prayer is good when prayed rightly. So a short prayer prayed rightly carries power. It reaches God. And a long prayer, when prayed rightly, carries power and reaches God as well. So it is not about how lengthy your prayers are, or how good your prayers sound, or how eloquent you sound, but how much you acknowledge and focus on the one who holds everything, the one who holds all power and grace. This is a call to pray, to always communicate with God the Father in our duties or in our places of work, in our businesses, wherever we find ourselves. It is not an excuse whatsoever not to pray, because prayer has been simplified. Even Jesus, his examples all through the Bible for us shows us that prayer has truly been simplified. We can reach God anywhere. We can reach God every time. We can reach God as long as our hearts are fixed on Him, as long as our focus is on Him. We can reach God. So this is a call for us to be intentional about our prayer life, for us to be intentional about reaching out to God before reaching out to a friend. Many people reach out to friends, they reach out to other means or other things before they call on God. No, it is wrong. It is wrong, because God should be your first response to any situation at all. He's the one that knows He knows He knows the end from the beginning, right? He knows everything. He's the one that created everything. And so you reach out to Him first before reaching out to other souls. God should be your first option to any situation. So what is important is that you acknowledge God first. Your focus is on God first before any other thing. And as you do so, your life will be filled with so much power that you cannot imagine. Your life will be filled with so much clarity that you cannot imagine, because you are in constant fellowship with divinity. And whosoever is in constant fellowship with divinity will never be led astray, because God is guiding you every step all the way. Thank you for watching, and I hope you were blessed.